Hello boys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a UFC 301 card builder. Originally I was going to do the rest of the 299 card, but recently we've had some fights on there like Blades Almeida that was announced recently and a couple more, so I thought I'd go for a blank slate, the May pay-per-view, UFC 301. So let's get started. Usually I go from main card downwards. I thought I'd go from the prelims upward this time, and I want to start with Tyson Pedro against Rodolfo Barlato. I mean, what a fight it was on the Austin card, the debut of Rodolfo, a big scary fucking Brazilian dude, might I add. I think Tyson Pedro is a good next step because when he came to the UFC there was hype around Tyson. He's lost a few since then, but I still think he's a decent 205er, and if you can get a win over Tyson Pedro, you start looking at maybe the Carlos Ulbergs and the Nuzachekwu, those kind of people. And if you can beat those guys, then you're looking at the Ryan Spans and that kind of area. So I think this is a good little stepping stone for Barlato. And I mean, if Pedro can win it, maybe you look at him against a Nuzachekwu or a Devin Clark. So I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Moving on from that, I would like to see Alex Ceres against Joanderson Brito. Now, I mean, fucking Bruce Leroy, what a nickname that is, by the way. He's always kind of been around, you know, he's been flirting in between the bottom half of the rankings and just being unranked. I like to watch him fight. He's unorthodox, he's interesting. He's not really a finisher at all. I was about to say he's not the best finisher. He's not really a finisher in any sense of the word. Whereas you look at the guy that I've matched him up with, Joanderson Brito, he is. He just beat Pierce, who I really, really rate highly. So I think he's got a lot of stock on him. And I think that Alex is effectively just... It's a harsh word to say, but at this point he kind of is a gatekeeper, which he's a very good fighter and he's got a very good nickname. Like I said, I bloody love the nickname Bruce Leroy. I think it's really clever. But yeah, I would just say that we need a little bit of like fresh blood at 145. A lot of the people in the top kind of 10 or 12 are either aging people or people who have already been right at the top of the division and then lost against Volker Holloway. So I think that Brito could beat Caceres. I wouldn't pick him to, but I think he could, and it's a fun matchup. So yeah, I think it's good for a prelim. I always like to get at least one ladies fight on me cards, and I think a really good one that you can make on these prelims is Ricci against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Ricci, of course, lost against Lupi recently. I don't like to talk about controversial decisions that much. I know that being an MMA judge is a very difficult job, but I did think Ricci won that fight. And I think with Karolina, she's been on a decent run recently. I thought that she was done. She lost, I think, 3, 4, 5 in a row. However, now she's back in the rankings. I think Ricci's number 12 off a loss, and Karolina's a veteran, and she's number 14 off a couple of wins. So I think it makes all the sense in the world. I do think Ricci would win, and I think if she did, you can throw her in against, like, I don't know, a lady in the bottom half of the top 10 at 115 pounds. I mean, I don't know who you would give her, really. Like, a strawweight's a bit of a weird one. There's a lot of strength at the top, but then when you go beyond like 5 or 6, there are some problems. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I think it would be great to see Karolina continue the run of form she's been on. I think it would be a good name for Ricci on her record as well. So I think it works all around. This was one of the first fights that I had in my head. I don't know what's happened with the Leech. As you can see, I have him pictured here with his lovely blue suit on that he was never able to rock at a press conference, which is still a travesty, by the way. I think you put him in there with old Michael Morales. I mean, Max Griffin and Jake Matthews are great names, and they're decent fighters, and they're really good wins at this early stage of his MMA career. But I think if you can beat the Leech, the sky's the limit. I mean, from there, you're looking at the bottom of the rankings, you look at a Michael Chiesa, somewhere around there. I'm really, really high on Mike, I really am. I think he really could be something. He's very clean on the feet, he's got good striking, he's not got the most power in the world, he has got finishes, but not too many of them, if you get what I'm saying. I think the Leech is a perfect litmus test, I really do. Which is a shame. There was a time where I actually thought the Leech may be able to break into the top 8 or 10 himself, but he's just been unlucky with obviously what happened at 279 and having to fight a really big D-Rod. That was obviously a shame. The Hamzat fight as well, he hasn't really had the rub of the green, and I don't expect him to get any here as well. I'd probably pick Michael Morales off of, I don't know, talent and activity. I would go with Mike to beat him, but I think it's a great fight, and I think if the Leech maybe could beat a Michael, you could look at him against maybe a Kevin Holland. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight at all. I mean, I know that Kev's ranked, but still, I think it'd be a great fight. But no, I would do Leech against old Michael Morales in the co-main of the prelims of UFC 301 in May. Next up, I want to see the return of the King. I want to do Mr. Bobby Green as the featured prelim of UFC 301. Now, I'm going to put him in against Matt Frevola. The two names that originally came to my head were two people who have got really good wins recently, and they were Drakkar Klose and Nasrat Haqparast. However, I then remembered that, of course, Green has already fought both of those two relatively recently. So I decided I'd give him a fresh matchup. I don't usually like to have a couple of people who are on the edge of the rankings who have both lost their last fights fight each other. But I think this is one of those where you could give the winner one last run up towards the top 8 or 9. And the loser, you can lose to kind of, I don't know. Again, I don't like using the word gatekeeper, but that is kind of what their role would be if they were to lose against each other in this fight. But no, I think what you need in a feature prelim is interest, a good fight, and name value. I think that Green can bring name value. I think that they're both great fighters to watch. I think it makes a lot of sense. I really do. Main card opener. Weirdly enough, I actually want the two people who have recently beaten Green and Frevola. I want Jaylen Turner against BSD. Any of you lot who have watched my channel for a period of time or who know me personally know how much I love Saint-Denis. I think he's an absolute savage. I mean, look at his face in the photo there. That's not a guy you want to fuck about with it in any situation in life. I know that Turner's already fought down the rankings on short notice when he beat Green, but he lost his previous two, and they weren't exactly competitive fights when he lost. So, well, actually, no, the Hooker fight was, but he gassed out completely at the end of that fight. So I think number 10 against number 12, I think that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I probably would pick Saint-Denis to win that one. It provides exactly what you need in a main card opener. Ranked guys who are going to put on a show, who the winner of the fight is then going to go on and do something big, which I think the winner here would do. They could look at, maybe if there is a fight between Beneil Dariush and Dan Hooker, they could look at the winner of that. They could look at the loser of Gamrot RDA, maybe, something like that. That could definitely work. Maybe not if it's Turner, obviously, who recently just fought Gamrot, but still, I think there's definite high-end, lightweight ramifications for the winner of this fight, and I think it would be an interesting one as well, but like I said, I would probably lean towards Saint-Denis for the win. Moving up the main card, we're going to light heavyweight, Jan Blachowicz against Khalil Rountree. Now, obviously, Jan was supposed to fight against Rakic in January, but obviously he got injured, shoulder injury, but from what we're reading, it doesn't look like it's going to be that serious, so I think by May he should be okay to fight. Rountree, well, first of all, I thought he 100% lost against Jacoby, but since then, I mean, the knockout of Anthony Smith was brilliant, and that's not just because I don't like Anthony Smith, it was actually a good finish, and I think, what is he now, number 8 on a decent win streak, so I think you got number 4, who is coming off a loss. I think it makes sense. You know, I mean, Jan Blachowicz is, what, 40 now? 39 at the youngest, maybe 41 at the oldest, and you got Rountree, who, again, is not the youngest guy, but in terms of the rankings, it's as high as he's ever been. So I think he's earned a shot like this. Now, over 3 rounds, I think Rountree has a good chance. If it was a fight night main event, which it could be, over 5 rounds I'd pick Jan, over 3 rounds I'd lean towards Rountree. But no, I think this is one of those fights that just needs to happen at light heavyweight. There are a number of UFC weight classes where there are people who have been kind of hogging the top spots for a few years now, and I mean, the UFC is all about, I suppose, evolution and just the constant rotation of fighters. It's just always in a cycle, and I think the cycle needs to continue. So I think this fight makes sense for a lot of reasons, and like I said, over 3 rounds I'd lean towards Rountree, but if they do this as a 5-rounder, I'd lean towards the pole. My featured bout on this card, I've spoke about this matchup recently. I think you should do Cory Sandhagen against Deiveson Figueiredo. I mean, if you really want to make it into a proper title eliminator, you could do it over 5 rounds, but I would just say do 15 minutes if you get what I'm saying. Now, a lot of you are going to be thinking, why this fight? I'll tell you. I love Cory Sandhagen, I really do. I love his evolution as a fighter. I know some people are looking at him, you know, he's more grapple heavy now, thinking, oh, he's more boring, but I think he's rounding out his game, which if you're going to be a world champion, you need to do. Unless you're Sean Strickland, of course. I really am not okay with the idea of Sandhagen fighting down the rankings, and the idea of him fighting someone like Umar, who is literally his best win is Raoni Barcelos. Just, it didn't sit well with me. But with Figueiredo, there is at least the added one of, okay, he's beaten a decent guy in Rob Font, and he's a former flyweight champion. So it kind of levels itself out, if you get what I'm saying. Fucking Evels, what was that all about? I love the fight as well. I mean, I think with the recent evolution of the grappling game of Cory Sandhagen, you can call them both complete mixed martial artists, and I wouldn't in any way push you back on that. And yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think what would happen in the fight itself, I would probably go with Sandhagen. 3 rounds or 5, I'd pick Cory. I think that Deiveson would really have issue with the range. I know he's obviously going to know that coming up from flyweight, he is going to have a height and reach disadvantage in most situations, but I think when you have somebody who can use that range as well as Cory, I think Figueiredo will struggle. I really do. And I think if he beats Deiveson, give him a title shot. Get rid of Cejudo. Get rid of Merab. Fuck the shit out of him. Not literally, but yeah, just I just smacked my desk. But no, honestly, that's how enraged I am. This man needs a title shot. So if he can beat Davison, bloody give it to him. Co-main event, 5 rounds in the middleweight weight division, and we are going to do Robert Whittaker against the former welterweight champion, Kamaru Usman. It just makes all the sense in the damn world. I know that they're both off of losses, and I know you could use their names as a way to bring other people up. I get that, I really do, but there aren't situations that actually come about like this very often. You've got 2 former champions in 2 different weight classes who are actually kind of similar in size, who are both off of losses and are available to fight each other. That doesn't happen often. I think Usman looked okay at 185. There were elements of the fight with Hamzat where I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, if you had a full cam and that was a 5-round fight, you are TKOing Hamzat in the 4th round. That's just what would have happened if you ask me. And I think in a fight with Robert Whittaker, it would be very interesting to see for a lot of reasons. But the main one is the number one thing that every striker needs. It's takedown defense, which is something that Whittaker has always been superb at. Even at 170, even though he was losing fights, he always had decent takedown defense. I think if it could hold up against Usman, he could make Usman look quite easy. But, like I said, only if he can stop the takedown. Now, I know he was out-grappled, I suppose you could say, in the first round of his fight against Duplessis. That did happen. But, I mean, Dricus is an absolute behemoth of a man. He should be a light heavyweight. So, as much as obviously when you have a guy who has been in one weight class for so long against a guy who's been in the weight class down below for so long, there is a size conversation. Usman's always been a big welterweight. And realistically, Whittaker's always been a small middleweight. So I think size-wise, I think when you look at them on the scales, if this does happen, Usman may even look bigger than Whittaker. I just think it's one of those where the winner of this fight, you could give... What could you do with the winner of a fight like this? You can't give either of them Adesanya. Because Usman's is his bum chum, and he's already fought Whittaker twice. So what would you do? I mean... Jared Cannonier, maybe? I mean... Fucking good luck with that one. He's a hard-hitting, scary motherfucker. His old Jared Cannonier. But no, I think the winner of this one will have one more fight after that. And if they can win that next fight, they'd fight for a world title again. I think that's what you do here. It's almost like an eliminator for an eliminator. And the loser, you could, I don't know, give him Brendan Allen or something. I don't know. Fucking Brendan Allen. Anyway, yeah. It's a great fight. In terms of who I'd pick to actually win said great fight, Whittaker. Whittaker TKO round 4. That would be my earliest, right off the top of the dome, shout for that fight. Because I think Whittaker will be able to keep on the feet and stop the takedowns of Usman. And I think in a striking match, Usman's not got a prayer. Even though his striking has improved, Whittaker's got some of the best all-round striking from the hands, the elbows, the knees, the kicks. All of his his striking game is very good. But Whittaker does have a chin weakness. And Usman has been able to prove against the likes of Masvidal and Burns he does have power, and that will translate up. So it's interesting, but I would go with Whittaker to win, especially over 5 rounds. And the main event, UFC light heavyweight crown on the line, Alex Pereira against Jamal Hill. I think it's relatively obvious we see this fight in either the first half or the start of the second half of 24. So sort of May, where I've put it, to sort of August. Anywhere in there I think is likely for a fight like this. I'm not going to waste that much time on the prediction. I think it's relatively clear cut who wins this fight. I'm going to go with Alex. I think Alex just has the ability to find chins even if he's in bad situations. Even if Hill was to look at grappling with Alex, which I think he might in a fight like this, watching Alex against Yan and Yuri, it's obvious the effect that Glover has had on him. His ability to, 1, actually defend a takedown and use his base is very good, and 2, when he's on the ground, his ability to keep himself safe on the ground is superb. And I don't think Jamal Hill is anywhere near the submission threat of a Yuri or a Yan, not even a prayer as close. But Jamal does hit a lot harder than those two. He's a lot more athletic, athletic's probably the wrong word. He hits a lot harder. He's a lot more youthful, and I think he's probably got a better chin than those two as well. I mean, he took a lot from Glover. Even though he gave Glover a lot, he also took quite a bit from Glover as well. Like, his face was not in a good way after that fight. He had definitely taken some big uns. And I don't think that Alex would finish him particularly quickly. I could see it going 3rd or 4th round. And I mean, I've said this about fights in the past. If you've got 2 strikers, the more technical one is going to win. Even if they both hit hard, the one who can land the hard shots better is going to win the fight. And Alex is a far superior technical kickboxer to Jamal Hill. That's just a fact. That being said, I do think that Jamal Hill would have a longer reign if he was to beat Alex, simply because I look at AP and I don't see him getting past Ankalaev, whereas Jamal Hill could do okay, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this individual fight, and I would go with the champ to retain. Probably, I think you do a lot of damage with the low kicks in the first kind of 10-12 minutes of the fight, landing a few upstairs. He may even look for a head kick. I mean, orthodox against southpaw, the head kick's always going to be there on both sides, so I mean, you could see that from Jamal as well, and his head kicks are pretty good, but I think by about halfway through the third, I think Jamal will be very hurt. And I could see maybe a TKO to ground and pound for Alex at the back end of the third, potentially the start of the fourth. But no, that's what I think should headline UFC 301, and a cheeky little thought on how I think the fight would go. So you get a bit of double bubble there, you lucky people. So lads, little recap for you. On the prelims, I say we do Tyson Pedro against Adolfo Bellato. Then we do Alex Caceres against Joanderson Brito. And then we do Ricci against Carolina. After that is Lee against Michael Morales. And the featured prelim would be Bobby Green, Matt Frevola. Main card opener of Turner against Saint-Denis. Then you go on to Jan Blachowicz against Roundtree. The featured bout 3 or 5 rounds, you do Haagen against Davison Figueiredo. Co-main event would be 5 rounds of Whittaker versus Usman. Main event, Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight title. Let me know what you think about all of that. Let me know what you think about how I see some of those fights going as well. Leave them all down in the comments. A lot of you have been commenting more recently, and it's not all been you calling me a fucking know-nothing cunt, which is good to see. I mean, I probably am, but it's nice that not everybody's picking up on that anymore like they fucking used to. But no, honestly, I just want to say real quick at the end of this video, I'm really bad at this kind of thing. I feel like I'm at a wedding, but no, I do appreciate all the support recently. It's been really good over the last kind of couple of weeks. I feel like I'm getting more consistent with the content, longer content, more in detail content. You guys are enjoying it. I'm enjoying making it. So yeah, let's just bloody crack on into the new year and see where it takes us, man. I mean, world domination is the goal, am I right? No, look, I hope you all enjoy the fights this weekend. I'll be hibernating watching them, so there'll be no content over the weekend. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, just absolutely big yourselves up. A nice little pat on the back, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, let's just keep going, I suppose. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, like I said. And I feel like I'm going around in circles. I'm going to shut up now. All right, goodbye.